Welcome back. Tonight, we step into the heart of empire, into the life of a man draped in purple, yet burdened by the weight of 1,000 expectations. In Rome, emperors were more than rulers. They were gods to some, tyrants to others, and enigmas even to themselves. But no emperor stands alone. Around him swirl the voices of slaves, senators, soldiers, and scribes, each shaping the reign as much as the man himself. This is not just the story of a throne, but of the world it ruled, and the cost of wearing the Roman crown. But first, if stories like this stir something in you, please consider giving the video a like. And if you just arrived, consider subscribing. In the comments, let us know where you're listening from and what gives you a sense of belonging, even when you're far from home. As they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And in the Roman world, as in ours, identity was often forged not by birthright, but by loyalty, labor, and the legacies we leave behind. Now, let's get started. You awake before the sun, not because you wish to, but because the empire demands it. Dawn creeps through the carved marble lattice above your bed, painting your chamber in delicate golds and silvers. But there is no comfort in this beauty. Even your rest is ritual. You slept in chambers gilded by triumphs, haunted by whispers. As emperor, your life is a pageant, sacred, scrutinized, and solitary. Before you rise, servants already stir beyond the curtain, waiting in silence like shadows. They won't speak unless summoned. Even the air seems to wait. You sit up slowly, muscles still heavy from yesterday's performance. A slave approaches with scented water, another with fresh robes of deep purple trimmed in gold, colors reserved for you alone. When you are dressed, you move through the palace toward the lararium, the sacred household shrine. The walls echo with every footstep. Here, under the unblinking gaze of gods and ancestors carved in stone, you offer wine and grain. You don't dare stumble in the prayer. Every act is watched, repeated by rumor, carved into memory. You are the Pontifex Maximus, not merely the emperor, but the divine hinge between heaven and Rome. Any flaw in the ceremony might be read as a flaw in the empire itself. After the incense fades, you enter the grand hall where your court awaits. The doors part like a theater curtain, and every eye turns to you. Senators in white togas, foreign envoys in embroidered silks, hardened generals with battle-worn brows, all bow. But do they respect you, or do they fear you? You've learned not to guess. You take your place on the raised seat, framed in gold and flanked by Rome's eagles. Every question asked, every dispute resolved, ripples far beyond these walls. When you approve a grain shipment from Alexandria, people live. When you delay a soldier's promotion, a province might stir with unrest. Words once spoken by you become law, gospel, or death. And yet, There is no peace in your authority. Beneath the marble floor, the foundation shakes with secrets. Plots coil in corners. Courtiers praise you to your face and toast your downfall behind closed doors. You never drink before your food is tasted. Even a midday meal is a performance. Reclining at the imperial table, you are encircled by poets, philosophers, family, and foes. Laughter is so soft, calculated advice hides behind verses. Your own kin speak in layered tones, their meanings twisted like grapevines. You nod, chew, listen. You trust no one completely, not even the silence. You ride through the city, flanked by guards. The people cheer. They chant your name. They cry with arms raised. You smile as you must. Somewhere in the crowd, a child glimpses you for the first time, eyes wide with awe. To them, you are Rome, but behind that child's mother, an assassin's dagger might glint. Behind that statue, a spy might wait. Even your bodyguards, fierce praetorians who swore their loyalty, could be bought. Emperors before you were strangled, stabbed, poisoned. The memory is fresh in every arc, every echoing step across the forum. At night, you return to your chamber alone. The gold does not warm you. The bed does not comfort. You think of the names etched in history, Augustus, Nero, and wonder how yours will be remembered. Will you be called merciful, tyrant, forgotten altogether? You lie still, hearing the wind sweep through the columns outside, brushing the empire's skin. Even asleep, you must dream carefully. For in Rome, dreams can be dangerous, too. The power in Rome is not held. It is worn like a mask, and yours is crafted from gold and dread. Every decision you make sharpens the edge you walk. You learned a long time ago that ruling is not about commanding armies or raising monuments. It's about reading people better than they read you. It's about listening to what isn't said, watching who doesn't bow, and remembering which senator's eyes didn't meet yours during the morning audience. By midday, you're no longer simply a ruler. You are a chess master, and the board is made of flesh and ambition. In the Curia, where senators gather in whispering clusters, alliances are made with nods and broken with silences. You might pretend to drift through conversation, sipping wine as poets recite verses at your side, but your mind is fixed on the language of power. Which general now courts too much favor? Which province grows too rich? Whose loyalty is too loud to be real? You think of your predecessors, his body carried out by night, his name scratched from monuments. He too once stood here in command, loved by the people, until he wasn't. There's a pattern, and now you see it. A senator grows bold. The Praetorian Guard murmurs. of succession. The people cheer for a new face. A slow tide begins to turn against you before you feel the first wetness at your heels. And by then, it's too late. So you listen to gossip like it's scripture. You bribe a slave to eavesdrop behind tapestries. You allow a known spy to operate within the palace, not because you're unaware, but because sometimes it's better to feed lies than to stop them. You reward loyalty loudly and punish betrayal severely. When a cousin speaks too fondly of the army, you send him to govern afar where accidents often happen. And when a general's name is sung too often in taverns, you honor him with a statue and retire him to a lavish estate with guards. But it's not only men you must outwit. The empire itself has moods. Famine in Egypt sparks unrest in Carthage. A drought in Hispania causes riots in the Forum. The gods must be appeased, the crowds entertained, the soldiers paid. You plan spectacles with gladiators and chariot races, not just for joy, but for distraction. Let the people feast on bread and sport, and they will not notice a tax increase. Let them believe in the emperor's fortune, and they will forget their own hunger. Yet even when all seems stable, your heartbeat never slows. At night, you receive reports, some whispered, some coded. A freed man in your inner circle has been seen with a suspicious scroll. A soldier in Gaul called your name with too much confidence. You study each note like a confession. Sometimes you act, sometimes you wait. Paranoia, you've learned, is a tool, and mercy, if used too freely, is often mistaken for weakness. The real burden of empire is not war or policy. It is that you must always be right, or seem to be. One poor harvest is the wrath of the gods. On fire in the city is proof you've lost favor. You order repairs swiftly, rebuild temples with speed, and sacrifice bulls at the altar until the people stop muttering. Even if you no longer believe in omens, they do, and their belief holds weight you cannot afford to ignore. You wonder at times who you really are beneath the robes. The child who once played in the gardens and believed in heroes. Is he still in there, or has he been buried under too many ceremonies, too many executions, signed with a flick of your stylus? Still, you rise each day, wrap yourself in majesty, and greet the world with a practiced calm. You understand now, an emperor doesn't rule by sword or decree alone. He survives by being unreadable, untouchable, unbreakable. For every dagger you see, there's another you don't. And in Rome, survival is the truest form of power, carrying the weight of being touched by the gods, an honor others envy, but one that never truly lets you rest. Like Augustus before you, every gesture you make is shaped with public eyes in mind. Outwardly, you must appear humble, even as your every thought is calculating, attuned to how your actions will echo through marble inscriptions and whispered tales. To be adored as a living god means living without flaw. There's no room for illness, no space for weakness, not even a breath of hesitation. Even your moments of supposed leisure feel staged. The friend who laughs at your jokes may also be weighing his chances in the Senate. The wine you sip under painted ceilings might taste sweet, but it's served with a side of suspicion. A misplaced word in a private letter, a jest overheard by the wrong person, a small slight to the cousin of a senator. Any of these could turn into the spark that ignites a conspiracy. Inside, you're constantly torn between your human desires and the inhuman expectations draped upon you. You may crave peace, love, or rest, but your every moment, your every movement is reflected on statues, minted onto coins, etched into monuments. The boundary between who you are and who you must pretend to be fades, tightens, suffocates. A shift in someone's tone, a warning from a servant, or the cold distance in a once familiar glance, all signal that danger might be closer than you think. Even mornings that begin with incense and sacred ritual can end in betrayal cloaked in silk. You walk through halls of gold and stone, your image flanked by gods, your voice capable of moving armies. But beneath the splendor, danger shadows every step. Though revered as nearly divine, you are never beyond the reach of knives, or worse, poisoned words and secret oaths. The throne commands awe, but it does not promise safety. History warns you well. Julius Caesar trusted the men who stabbed him. Some kissed his cheek before they struck. Caligula, once hailed with cheers, fell to the blades of his own guards. Nero's own mother helped raise him to power, then became a threat he could no longer ignore. He had her killed before she could kill his reign. You've learned that trust is not freely given, nor should it be. Sejanus, once Tiberius's closest confidant, slowly wrapped his hands around the levers of power until the emperor uncovered his plot and had him executed. It doesn't stop with generals. Even your own blood, your sister, your wife, your child, might one day see your death as their salvation. Meals are not shared, but tested. Words are not spoken, but calculated. You eat what others prepare, yet only after a trusted taster tries it first. Every corner of your palace conceals both luxury and layers of precaution. Some doors are hidden. Some passageways lead nowhere but to safety if danger strikes. You hold meetings at odd hours and in unpredictable places, all in the hope of staying one step ahead of unseen threats. And still, the threats come. Domitian, fearing the world outside and the men within, built secret escape routes into his residence. You've done the same. When you appear in public, whether at the games or the forum, it is not as yourself. It is as Rome personified. You wear the laurel wreath, the scarlet cloak, the practiced expression. Guards surround you. Spies weave through the crowd like silent phantoms. Smiles flash in your direction, but you know some of them mask resentment or worse, ambition. The toll on your mind is relentless. You find yourself questioning everyone. A friend's compliment carries the weight. Is it sincere or is it bait? A glance from your spouse lingers too long. Was it love or calculation? The longer you rule, the harder it becomes to remember who you were before power. You begin to mistake fear for respect. Isolation becomes your one true companion. Even the people's love is fickle. They will cheer when your name is declared, but turn with lightning speed if rumor brands you unjust or weak. Caligula once walked among their praise. By the end, he was mocked behind closed doors. Commodus fancied himself Hercules reborn, but his cruelty crushed the goodwill of the masses. Mercy, while noble, often reads as vulnerability. Harshness, though effective, breeds its own crop of enemies. So you withdraw. You listen more than you speak. You rely on networks of informers, layers of bureaucracy, advisors who deliver only on the safest version of the truth. You may quote Augustus, how he found Rome in brick and left it in marble. But what you truly leave behind is something colder, a system of secrecy, of masks, of control. In this high tower of power, trust corrodes. Even joy feels rehearsed. You wonder if your own children dream of succession more than affection. Like Claudius, you may begin to second-guess every decision. Or like Hadrian, you may flee into art and travel, losing yourself in beauty because you no longer trust anything else. You are the emperor of Rome. You are the state, and yet you are also a man behind closed doors, watching, waiting, wondering where the next danger lies. And that, my friends, is where our story comes to a close, for now. But stories have a way of echoing through time. Maybe this one found a place in yours. If it did, let me know what part stayed with you the most. Don't forget to like, share it with someone who might need this tale today, and subscribe so you don't miss on the next one. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and keep listening for the stories all around you.